On my wedding day, my mom smiled and announced, "We've decided to give the apartment her parents gifted you to your sister instead. Relax. It's just a place to sleep," my sister laughed. Then my father, with that finality that always crushed me, added, "It's decided. She has 4 kids. Grow up." My stomach nodded. But then my fiancée Mia looked at them, took off her ring, and with a voice that was calm yet cutting said, "My name is Mia, and we're going to be very clear about who makes decisions about our home." That was the moment everything changed. Not just for me but for all of them. My name is Jacob. I'm 29. A staff sergeant, infantry. Oldest child, designated driver, default problem solver. I'm the son who can handle it. In my family, that means I'm the background person. The one who pays for the pizza, lifts the couches and keeps quiet so the real stars can shine. My sister Naomi is 27 with 4 kids and a neon sign above her head that might as well say golden child. If she breathes, my parents applaud. If I bleed, they say, "You're strong. You'll manage." I learned early that being gone is a form of guilt. You're never home anyway. Mom would say if I missed a dinner because I was training, or if I didn't pick up the phone in the first 5 minutes. That sentence lived in our house like a 5th family member. It showed up at holidays, at hospital waiting rooms, at the end of any conversation where I tried to draw a line. I'm not dramatic. I wake up at 0530, run, make the bed, iron a shirt even when no one will see it. I measure coffee with a scoop, not my heart. I say Roger when I mean fine. I say copy when I mean I don't agree but I'll do it. I don't throw plates. I don't slam doors. I keep count in my head and pretend I don't. The wedding we planned was small. We chose a simple hall by the river. 50-ish guests. We did coffee and pastries instead of alcohol because Mia doesn't drink, and because I had a medical check early Monday and didn't want to do it hungover. Mia wore flats so she wouldn't trip. Her dress had cap sleeves and pockets because she likes to keep tissues and a mint. Her parents run a bakery. They gave us the cake and, as a surprise, something bigger. Papers for a small apartment they bought years ago as an investment. They wanted us to have a start that didn't wobble. We'd sign after the wedding weekend. 2 rooms and a tiny balcony that can fit 2 chairs if you sit friendly. It was the first time in my life a door would lock behind me, and no one else would hold a spare key just in case. I didn't say that out loud, but I felt it in my ribs. Ceremony done. Photos done. Mia's hand was warm in mine. My CO was making a joke about saluting when we kissed. The kids chased each other with napkins tied like capes. The room smelled like cinnamon rolls. My mom approached with that smile she uses when she's about to make a public announcement sound like a blessing. Dad hovered behind her, arms folded. Naomi drifted close, already laughing at a joke no one told yet. Mom said, "Bright and calm, we're passing the apartment her parents gave you over to your sister." My brain stalled. I thought I misheard over the clatter of forks. Naomi tossed her hair and smirked. "Relax. It's just a place to sleep." Dad dropped the hammer. "It's decided. She has 4 kids. Grow up." The room went hushed in a very specific way. Like the air itself leaned in. I felt the old reflex roll up my spine. Smile. Make it easy. Say we'll talk later. Fix it quietly. Bleed privately. It's a reflex that's been trained into me longer than my rifle drills. Mia didn't wait for me to do that. She looked at my parents, then at me. She slid her ring off, not dramatic, just precise, and set it beside the coffee urn. "Before we sign anything," she said steady, "we're going to be very clear about who makes decisions about our home." Every fork in the room stopped moving. Even the kids got quiet. That was the first trigger. Not the money yet, not the keys, just the line, "Our home, our decision," and me finally hearing it said out loud. I didn't know it yet, but that was the moment something in me stood up. I grew up in a house where help meant Jacob will handle it. Dad worked maintenance at the hospital nights mostly. Mom did everything in a way that made sure you knew she did everything. It wasn't that we were poor in a movie way. It was that we perpetually lived 12 inches behind the bill due date. When Naomi started having kids, those 12 inches became 12 months. The unspoken rules were simple. If Naomi needs something, we all drop what we're doing. If Jacob needs something, maybe he should stop needing. At 18, I enlisted. My parents said it was a phase. At 22, when I re-enlisted, they called it avoiding responsibility. I sent money home because they said the power would be shut off. I overnight cash because Naomi's car died and it turned out to be an oil change and a tire no one wanted to pay for. I bought school shoes for my nieces because my sister cried on the phone, and I was 6,000 miles away and couldn't stand the sound. I never said, keep receipts. I learned to love wire transfers the way other guys learned to love boats. When I went home on leave, the list waited on the fridge. Pick up dry cleaning. Dad's suits. Replace shower head. Mom's back hurts. Call landlord for Naomi. She doesn't do confrontation. Fix the internet. Bring cash. Underline twice. If I said I wanted one day just to sleep, Mom would tilt her head. Soft voice. You're never home anyway. The sentence was a solvent that stripped my no down to nothing. Dad would add, you don't want to be the kind of man who leaves his sister stranded. Naomi would text a string of crying emojis and please, please, please. And that was that. Some numbers stuck in my head like nails. $480 for Dad's alternator because the good garage wouldn't let him leave without payment. $1,200 to Naomi's landlord after she misunderstood the due date. $650 to cover Mom's dental payment plan because she hates payment plans. $2,143 my tax return once. Sent in 2 chunks because we'll pay you back when Eli's bonus hits. The bonus never hit. Turns out it wasn't that kind of job. I kept a mental ledger even when I swore I didn't. Not just dollars but hours, calls, favors. 31 airport pickups. 17 Saturday mornings spent moving Naomi between rentals. 64 missed calls on the first day of my last deployment because she had a situation with the neighbor and needed me to do something. I met Mia between cycles. She laughs with her whole mouth and says, please to strangers and keeps granola bars in her bag because someone will forget to eat. She doesn't ask for things. She asks questions. When my phone buzzed with Mom's requests on our second date, I apologized like I broke a plate. Mia said, you don't have to apologize for other people's emergencies. I never heard it phrased like that. When I introduced her to my parents, Mom's smile was friendly and sharp. She's sweet, she told me later. But can she handle your schedule? And ours. That last word, ours, landed heavy. Mia's parents ran the bakery. They woke up at 4:30, braided dough, argued about flour like doctors argue about medicine. They gave without keeping score. For the wedding gift, they offered the apartment. They said, only if you both want it. The papers weren't fully transferred yet, but everything was lined up to sign the Monday after the wedding. I told my parents at Sunday dinner. Mom nodded like she was being patient with a child. That's lovely, she said. And practical. Naomi can use it while you're deployed. Empty places are wasteful. It's ours, I said. You're never home anyway, she replied and smiled like she'd solved a puzzle. Naomi started talking about the apartment like it was community property. She texted me for the building's visitor pass number because school pickup is easier if I park there. She asked for a copy of the keys for emergencies. She posted a Pinterest board called Balcony Ideas, with hanging chairs and herb gardens, and tagged me. When I reminded her we hadn't even signed, she sent laughing emojis. Details, she wrote. Be a team player. The week before the wedding, I was in the motor pool when she called 12 times in a row. I finally answered. Can I get the lease in my name if it's easier for taxes? She asked like she was asking for a stick of gum. We can always change it later. No, I said steady. Absolutely not. Why are you being weird? She snapped. You're never home anyway. You and Mia can stay with Mom and Dad when you're in town. Eli, her husband, called me bro whenever he texted me for money. He never called me anything when it was about the kids' birthdays or school plays. I discovered I was more useful as a debit card than an uncle. The wedding day arrived, and I told myself nothing would happen. We kept it small, neutral, safe. We planned every minute. I forgot I couldn't plan other people's decisions. I forgot I couldn't schedule my parents' entitlement into a quieter time. So when my mother smiled and said the apartment was being passed to my sister, it was shocking and not shocking. It was a script I'd heard all my life, just with new props. My father's grow up was the old chorus. Naomi's relax was the laugh track. What I didn't plan for, what I never realized I could plan for, was Mia. setting the ring down and naming the problem in one sentence. That sentence, our home, refused to leave the room. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't say words I'd regret. I didn't storm out. Those are not my moves. I stood there with a paper cup of coffee and the ring on the table and my family lined up like a panel. Mom kept her smile fixed. "We'll sort the paperwork Monday," she said as if we'd agreed. "It's best for everyone." "For you," Mia said. "Not for us." Naomi sighed loudly. "You're being dramatic. It's just a place to sleep." Dad folded his arms tighter. "She has 4 kids. Jacob, I know," I said. "I know the names and birthdays." "Then act like a brother." "I am," I said. "A brother who also gets a life." Mia touched the ring and then slid it back onto her finger. Her voice didn't wobble. "This is simple. The apartment is Jacob's and mine. If that isn't respected, we don't sign. We don't move. We're not building a home inside a tug-of-war." A couple of my guys drifted closer because they thought maybe they'd need to extract me. They didn't. I wasn't going anywhere. Mom's smile thinned. "Mia, honey, you're new here. You don't understand how we support each other." "I understand exactly," Mia said. "I've watched Jacob hand over weekends, paychecks, sleep, and every spare corner of himself. I've watched him be told he doesn't get a say because he's not around to say it. The phrase, 'you're never home anyway,' is not a family value. It's a way to erase him." Naomi rolled her eyes so hard it looked like pain. "Oh my God." Dad leaned in, voice low in warning. "Careful." I finally felt the shape of the room. It was my life laid out as a diagram. Me, the dependable bridge. Then the traffic, no toll booth, no weight limits. I picked up the ring, pressed it into Mia's palm, and then spoke to my parents like I hadn't learned to do until right then. Calm. Clear. "We're not giving you the apartment." Mom blinked. "Excuse me. We're not giving you our home. Don't talk to your mother like that." Dad said. "I'm talking to the decision," I said. "Not the person." Naomi laughed, small and sharp. "So selfish." "Maybe," I said. "Or maybe I'm finished being the only adult." Mom pulled her face tight. "After everything we've done for you." I held up a hand. "We're not unrolling a ledger today." She paused. That word landed. Ledger. We all knew it existed, even if it lived in whispers and sighs. "This isn't about revenge," I said. "This is about closure, about boundaries. If you love us, you'll respect them. If you don't, we'll love you from our own home with the door locked." Dad's mouth moved like he was chewing the words. "Grow up," he said again, quieter. "I just did," I answered. There was no shouting after that. Just a vacuum. People pretended to look at the dessert table. Kids stared openly. Aunt Becca mouthed, "Wow," and then pretended to cough. We went back to our table like regular guests. We ate cake in silence. I watched Mia talk to my CO about running routes near the river. I watched my parents hold court in the corner, calling over relatives one by one. I watched Naomi type on her phone like she was drafting a federal memo. None of that changed the ring back on Mia's hand. None of it changed the sentence that had been spoken and couldn't be unsaid. The breaking point wasn't a slam. It was a click. The sound a lock makes when the bolt finally slides all the way in. The wedding ended with people slipping out in ones and twos, carrying paper boxes with slices of cake that would dry out in their fridges. My platoon shook my hand and gave me that look guys give each other when they want to say, "I'm here if you need me," without making it weird. Mia's parents stacked trays and wrapped leftovers like a drill team. My parents left without hugging me. Naomi hugged me like a stiff mannequin and whispered, "You'll fix this tomorrow." At 11:07 p.m. Mom called. I let it ring. At 11:09 a text. "I'm ashamed of you." At 11:10, "Drop the keys at our house tonight. Naomi starts moving in the morning." We didn't have keys yet. Mia and I ended up in the back of her dad's van with 2 leftover rolls and a thermos. We sat in the dark and ate bread and laughed until the laughing turned into that silent, shaky breathing you do when your body is still on high alert. "It feels like I took off a pack," I said. "And my back doesn't know what to do." "It'll feel lighter, and then heavy, and then lighter," she said. Waves. Sunday morning, 23 missed calls. Dad texted. "Family meeting 1400. Don't be late." Naomi texted. "If you love me, prove it." She added a photo of her kids. I stared at their faces and felt the guilt hit like it always does. Then I pictured a door with a lock and 2 chairs on a tiny balcony and reminded myself, love isn't a blank check. At noon we went to the notary. The office smelled like old paper and lemon cleaner. We signed. 18 minutes. The clerk said, congratulations. Like he says it 20 times a day. We walked outside with a manila envelope that contained a future. We looked up at the building. A pigeon looked down at us like it was unimpressed. At 13:58, we pulled into my parents' driveway. Mia said, together. I said, together. Inside. It was arranged like a tribunal again. Mom sat on the couch. Dad in his chair. Naomi with a notebook and a pen like she was chairing a committee. The TV was on mute with subtitles. The kids colored at the table. I noticed the list on the fridge. Jacob, call power company. Jacob, fix sink. Jacob, check Naomi's car. The ink was fresh. We'll do this quickly, Mom said like she was the judge. You'll give Naomi the apartment for a year. We'll revisit after. You're never home anyway. No, I said. Don't speak to your mother like that. Dad said. I'm speaking to the plan, I said. The answer is no. Naomi didn't look up from the notebook. Alternative, she said. You pay us $1,500 a month for 12 months. That's below market. Consider it uncle tax. The children need stability. I'm their uncle, I said. Not a second income stream. Mia's voice was gentle. We're not negotiating our home. Mom's smile broke. You think you'll keep her if she sees how selfish you are with family? It was a clean shot, aimed at the softest part. Mia answered before I could. Yes, because I'm not asking him to be a doormat so I can wipe my feet. Dad leaned forward. If your sister ends up on the street, that's on you. She won't, I said. She has you. She has choices. She always has. Naomi's eyes were wet now, but I knew this performance. You don't understand what it's like, she said. It's hard. I know, I said. I've been underwriting hard. Silence. The clock ticked. Mom stood. If you leave now, you're not part of this family. I took a breath big enough to carry an answer. If that's the rule you need. Okay. I love you. We're going home. We left. The manila envelope was warm in Mia's hands, like it had a pulse. We drove to the apartment and walked up the stairs and stood in the empty space and listened to the quiet. I put the keys on the counter. Then I picked them back up and put them in a drawer so I could practice not leaving them for anyone else to find. The next week was noise. Calls, messages, group chats I didn't join. Naomi posted on Facebook. Some people only show up for photos. She tagged me, untagged me, tagged me again. Aunt Becca texted. I'm proud of you. Don't tell your mother I said that. My father called from a different number every day like he was trying to flank me. My mother sent a running tally. Naomi cried 3 times today. Your father's blood pressure went up 14 points. The kids asked where their uncle is. On day 9 she wrote, we'll forgive you when you come to your senses. I wrote one reply. I love you. I'm not discussing our apartment. On Tuesday Eli called. Bro, he said, I'll fake easy. Can we crash in the guest room for a month? Just until we find something. We don't have a guest room. Living room. No. Balcony. No. He swore. You've changed. I'm trying. Logistics tried to sneak in. Mom emailed me as parents with a formal letter. As you know, Jacob is often absent due to his career. It is in the best interest of all parties if Naomi occupies the unit during those absences. Mia's mom responded with one line. The apartment is a gift to Jacob and Mia together. I read it 3 times and felt my shoulders drop an inch. I told my CO the basics. He asked if I needed time. I said I was fine. I wasn't, but I wanted to be the version of me who didn't look like a live wire. I showed up on time. I did the work. I ran longer. I slept badly. I woke up with my jaw clenched. In the apartment we built a routine. We bought a $60 table from a man named Igor, who insisted on carrying it up the stairs while telling me about the cat who used to sleep on it. We found 2 chipped mugs in a box Mia had labeled Kitchen Daily. We ate pasta too late. We argued about the squeaky faucet and laughed in the middle of it. I hung a cheap curtain badly. Mia fixed it the next morning while I did push-ups on the floor and pretended not to watch her. Thursdays, I texted Naomi. We're free Sunday, 1400 to 1600 if the kids want the park. She answered once. We don't need your charity. I wanted to text a paragraph about love and time and how parks are not charity. But I didn't. You don't negotiate a no into a yes by writing a novel. By the second week, the phone got quieter. A strange quiet that felt like the silence after a fireworks show ends and your ears ring. I kept thinking I'd done something wrong because the noise was gone. Then I realized the quiet was the thing I'd asked for. Just didn't feel like a gift yet. Then came the drop-by. Saturday morning, 7:20. Knock on the door. Too quick, one long family code. Mia looked at me. I shook my head. We didn't move. The knock came again. Jacob. Mom's voice. Open up. Then Naomi's. The kids have to pee. I stood still until the knocking stopped. We texted. Please don't come without asking. We're not home. It was a lie. It was also the boundary. The text came back rapid fire. How dare you? The children were cold. You're petty. I put my phone face down. Mia made pancakes. We ate them slowly. Aunt Becca called later. Your mother is telling people you locked children out in the snow. It was 48 degrees, I said. Nothing. For what it's worth, Becca said. I think you're doing the right thing. Your mother is just not used to the door locking the other way. Mia pinned a small note on the inside of the door. Do we want this? It was for us, not them. We agreed on a rule. Before we open to anything, visits, requests, debts, we ask that question. If the answer is no, we keep the door shut. Felt childish to write it down. It also worked. On a Wednesday night, Dad sent. Come by 1900, just you. I didn't. I replied with a photo of our balcony with 2 cheap chairs and a plant that might die. He answered with a single period. I stared at that, like it contained the entire weight of his disappointment. 2 weeks in, something changed in me. I woke up, made coffee, and realized I hadn't braced for a crisis. The weather app said rain. My phone said nothing. The apartment smelled like toast. Mia slept on her side with her hand under her cheek. It was ordinary. That was the miracle. Not fireworks, not applause, just a Tuesday morning where no one owned me. The quiet didn't fix everything. It made room to see what needed fixing. I saw how automatic my yes had been. I saw how I'd turned love into labor and called it duty because I was scared to be called selfish. I saw how you're never home anyway had become a rule in my head that let everyone else live in mine. I started small. I told Mia every request I got, even the ones I was embarrassed about. We put each one on the $60 table and asked the door note question. Do we want this? Can we afford this? Does this make sense for us? Sometimes the answer was yes, with limits. We sent groceries once. We covered a copay, the exact amount and nothing more. I called Naomi's kids every Sunday at 1,500 for 20 minutes. If they didn't answer, we tried next time. I didn't chase. One afternoon, I ran into Mom outside the grocery store. She looked smaller. She stood with her hands around a cart like it might float away. Are you happy? She asked. Not mean. Just tired. I'm honest, I said. You're not the boy I raised. I know, I said. I grew up. We stood there a long minute while a teenager pushed a line of carts together behind us. The metal rang like bells. I don't want revenge, I said. I want closure. I want a life where love isn't a bill. She nodded once. We'll see. Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. Here's where I ended up. I'm Jacob. I'm 29. I'm a soldier. I'm an eldest son who stopped being a bridge that anyone could drive anything across. I have an apartment with 2 chairs that barely fit the balcony. I have a door that locks from the inside. I love my family. I won't bankroll their emergencies by default. I won't hand over keys because someone says, you're never home anyway. I won't be guilt into calling boundaries betrayal. That's the line I keep on the days it's hard. I read the note on the inside of the door. Do we want this? I put my hand on the lock and remember the click at our wedding when Mia set her ring down. And everything in me finally stood up. We're building a life. It's not dramatic. It's dishes in the sink and running at 0-600 and a squeaky faucet and a plant that might live. It's 2 chipped mugs and coffee that's too strong and a balcony just big enough for us. It's quiet, and then noisy, and then quiet again. Have you ever had to choose between your own peace and what your family expected of you? What was the hardest boundary you ever had to set? Tell me what you think in the comments below. I really want to know.